Hey guys, it's been a while. I've just been too busy jet skiing, mountain biking, working in the backyard, doing some other small projects, and it's just been taking the time away from the FD. But I do have a video, and it's likely going to be short because I'm not doing a whole ton, but it is something I need to do. And that is getting all the suspension bushings into the arms, everything cleaned up, so that way I can walk everything back into the car. So I can start getting my differential in, I can start getting the front subframe in, I can start putting the engine in, and then from there it's just basic fabrication work. So let me show you what I got in terms of the suspension arms. So I've tossed the arms into the blasting cabinet and they just came out insanely good. This is just literally about an hour's worth of work for the arms that you can see here. So it just was really impressive on how it basically took off, 20 some plus years worth of grime, corrosion, road debris, whatever. I mean, this is some of the worst of it. And I'll show you kind of what it looks like to in the blasting cabinet to knock that off. It's so satisfying. But ultimately they come out like this. I'm still debating on whether or not I want to get them coated, if I want to polish them. Ultimately, I'm just going for an OEM look. So I might just leave them like that, even though they might get dirty really fast because there's no coating on it. And let me rip open some of these boxes so I can show you the J Auto bushings, the SuperPro bushings that we're going to be pressing in. So I got my Harbor Freight hydraulic press. And I also went to go pick up some bar stock, 1018 carbon steel. And this is 5 1-foot sections of 1x1 bar stock. So I'm just following a tutorial that was posted on RX-7 Club a long time ago. And we'll see how that works out. And then we'll start digging right into this. And as you can see, I've just been stockpiling parts. I mean, I got our monster clutch. This puppy is going to be able to hold, 900 foot-pounds. It's a single disc, which is just insane. It's gonna be a lot more than what I need, so that works out perfectly. I got 2 boxes from SuperPro and J Auto, so I'm gonna rip those open. I also got one from, I can't remember that brand, but Mazda OEM parts, so I could rebuild all the brake calipers. I got the Ronin 8.8 diff kit in the back. The diff is currently sitting at the shop. It's getting rebuilt with the Detroit True Track, so really looking forward to that next week. I also got Fortunato coilovers. So I am super excited to toss these on because ultimately, I mean, it is a street car, but I do probably want to do some road racing, some NASA events, something of that sort. So super excited to toss those on. And the last update, these are technically not mine yet. I'm holding these for a buddy that just needed some storage space. And he's giving me the option of if I want to buy them, I could buy them. And I'm just like, they look so damn good. Like the black lip is the perfect black, matches exactly like the brilliant black that's on the stock body. And it's just going for the color, the scheme. I just absolutely love these wheels. But I won't know until I can actually get the subframe on to see how they fit, because they're pretty aggressive. I think the front 18 by 9.5 plus 12, so I can make those fit. That's not gonna be an issue. But these are 18 by 10.5 plus 5. So I will likely have some rubbing issues. I'm not a stance guy, so I'm not going to camber these wheels, and I wanna run at least a 285, maybe 295 in the rear. And so I have a friend who does amazing bodywork. He's rolled some FD fenders in the past to be able to pull them just a tad bit, still look stock. I might be able to get away with it, but we'll see. But I can't stop staring at them, so good. So here's the SuperPro bushings. It's literally every single bushing in the car. Everything from all the control arms to the diff to the sway bar. Everything. I also got the J Auto pillow ball bushings, which are an upgrade from the factory pillow ball bushings that are located in some of the arms. Also some OEM dust caps, some solid diff bushings, some inner or outer tie rods, all the factory dust caps. I mean, I'm just trying to make this car as reliable. I don't want to take it apart again. And plus, none of this stuff has ever been changed before, so might as well do it while I have it torn apart. And so there's not really a comprehensive video out there that shows you that. The only one I found is more of a vlog style. I'll try to show you kind of what the process is for some of these, and kind of like the weird angles and setups you have to do inside of the hydraulic press, because it's kind of sketch, which with some of these where, you know, you got kind of like this horseshoe style bends, and so you have to leverage some of that bar stock for leverage. So I'll show you what that looks like if in case any of you guys want to go ahead and tackle this. I'm starting with the easiest one, and that's going to be the trailing arms, and any of the other ones that I could just simply toss into the press without having to do any special type of maneuvering. And so you'll use the arbor plates to essentially get the outer edge of the trailing arm, and then use a socket that is the inner diameter of the trailing arm to push out the bushing. And it's simple as just pushing it out. So when you do this, the trailing arms don't have a perfectly flat edge, so be careful because you could potentially damage them. And then also keep an eye out to make sure that you're not getting in the way of, let me see if I could get a better angle, getting in the way of the bushing. As you can see on the right side, I didn't get it good enough with the arbor plates, and so I was pushing the bushing out and then crushing it at the same time. So keep an eye out for that. And I'll just walk you through every single one of these arms, but that's the trailing arm, super straightforward. Here's a better close-up of what I meant by crushing it. So you want to avoid that because you're going to be applying more pressure on one side since it's going to be hitting a flat surface. And so you'll put uneven pressure, and as it's going out, that's not great for something that needs to be pushed out perfectly flat. So be careful, don't do what I did. Keep an eye out for it. It's my first time doing it, so I'm not going to do everything perfect, but I at least want to show you what I do know and how I got it done so you can go ahead and do it yourself. Mazda has 6 pillow ball bushings total. There's 4 on the rear lower control arms. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's 2 left on the rear upper control arms right in the middle, right there. There's 2 bushings and it's the one in the middle. To remove those, you need to take off the dust boot first, and so you just take a small flathead, be really careful, push that in. You don't want to go ahead and scratch the aluminum, and then apply leverage, and then you'll be able to snap these out. It's like aluminum, like really soft steel, whatever it may be. But then after that, you expose the inside, which is just greased, and clean that up. There's a snap ring inside, remove the snap ring, and then you could go ahead and push them out. One thing to note, once you remove the snap ring, you want to push on the opposite side, which is the larger opening. Push that side out because the snap ring is what was holding it in place. Don't push the other way around because there's an inner edge that you're just going to be hitting. Okay, so we got the pillow ball bushings out of the rear lower control arm, and now we have this bushing, and there's something special about this one. So when you flip it onto this side, you gotta take these tabs off. This is just really easily with a couple of pliers, just knock those off. But then you can see that there's a ledge. Let me see if I can focus it. There we go. So there's the control arm, and there's a ledge. Per the factory service manual, there's really no way around this. You have to cut off a piece of this this way so you can rest it on the press and then push the bushing out this way. Because if you don't, then you're just pushing the bushing against itself. So essentially what you do is you take a hacksaw and you take off one on each side, and that way you can sit it on some of the arbor press or the bar stock that you bought or that I bought, and then press the bushing out. You got to be careful though, because you can mess up the aluminum on the actual control arm. I messed up on the first time. I nicked it when I was trying to take a screwdriver to it, and then also a little bit with the hacksaw there. It shouldn't affect performance, but I just hate that I know it's there. So keep an eye out for it, because ultimately you want it to end up, you know, nice and flat like that. The rear upper control arms are going to be pretty straightforward. These two are going to be relatively easy. This right here, this horseshoe area, because these bushings need to be pressed out from the inside out, that's when we're going to need to use the bar stock. For the sake of time in the video, just look at the link in the description to see the tutorial on RX-7 Club. Really great write-up. Kind of shows you some pictures on, you know, some of the crazy angles and stuff you need to do. But everything else is going to be straightforward. Then this one also has a snap ring, so make sure you push that out from the opposite end. This process takes forever. I'm on day 2. I had to finish up early yesterday, and I was not able to press out the bushings from inside the rear upper control arm. I was following the exact same steps, using the exact same material as this write-up, but this bar started to bend, and that's not the type of steel that you want to bend. I was pretty afraid because I used some jack stand cast irons for the exact same purpose a couple weeks ago, and it exploded on me. Luckily, it did not hit the Super, it didn't hit the FD, but I didn't want that to happen again. So I'll have to get creative, or I just might bite the bullet and pay someone else to do it because I don't want to risk it. Anyways, I'm working on the toe links. The toe links, you have to do the exact same thing where you cut off the sides, so that way you can go ahead and press the bushing out. Everything else is really straightforward, just as I've shown before. So I'm just going to push them all out, not make this video any much longer than it needs to be, because I still have to press the bushings in. So I'll get working on that. So I finally had a breakthrough. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but this is essentially the setup. I mean, you can tell how sketch it is. Like, we're far off center, we're using a ton of leverage, and then like the back piece is not even straight on there. Just a little bit of fire. Heat it up as you're applying pressure, and it pops right out. I'll show you what it looks like. There goes it. There it is. So for the front upper control arms, it's the exact same process as what you just saw in the video, but they're rubber bushing, so they don't require as much pressure, a lot easier. You do have to hack off some of the rubber here so you can rest it, and essentially just take a hacksaw. It takes like 1 minute, and then from there, just push it out from the inside. Exact same thing for the front lower control arms as we did for the front uppers. It's probably been several weeks since last time I actually worked on the suspension, and where I left off is saying you repeat the process for the front lower control arms, those last 2 bushings. That's true, except for that one, right? So if you look at the control arm, it's the one that's all the way out to the side here. And this is actually one of those fluid-filled bushings with a sleeve on the inside. And the only way you can remove that is by torching it. And that's actually why this one's all torched up and kind of banged up. I had to figure it out as I went. And again, that's because no one shows you this, or at least no one does this one, because quite honestly, this bushing's probably fine, but I bought the whole kit, might as well. And so I'll just, now that I know how to do that one, I'll show you the process on removing it. How you doing? Once it's cool, put it in the vise, put a hacksaw through it, and you're gonna essentially hack through the sleeve. And there's 2 sleeves inside of there. There we go. So you can see the first one, and then the second one is right under that. And that's actually not the control arm yet. And so when you're slicing through this, you gotta be careful, because you really wanna slow down as soon as you approach the control arm. At this point, basically what I do is I just grab a hammer and a screwdriver and try to pry the first sleeve out, and then work on the second one. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm prying up the first sleeve, and that's the one I'm gonna take out first, and then I'll work on the second one. Some days have lapsed since the last time I showed a clip, but I've been running out of time and I'm just kind of breezing through this. So I actually brushed all the suspension components. I figured it's going to be a little bit easier for, you know, if any debris or grease ends up on here, it's going to be easier to clean up. It also looks nicer. I'm not going for a full polish though. It's not going to be lowrider, but it's going to be nice enough. And I'm starting to rebuild the components back. And this is where it can get a little bit tricky because you still have to use the press and you kind of have to get some different angles to kind of press these in. And since they're polyurethane, they're going to move around and jiggle out, and you kind of have to like make sure everything is completely square as you're pressing down. But it's coming together. Also, new boots, re-greased the inside, which is what I'm doing right now. So I just cleaned up all the grease. I'm gonna take essentially what I used to polish up the arms, which is a Scotch-Brite pad on my die grinder. And it comes into like a 4 or 5 inch pad. I've been wearing it down, but this is your finishing pad. So this is what's going to give it the sheen and clean it up without being too abrasive. Sorry about not getting video on pressing the bushings back in, but honestly, that's the easy part. I wanted to show you what it was like to actually push them out. And the reason for that is because there was a lack of information and some of the tips and techniques that you had to do in order to get these bushings out. And putting the new ones back in, I mean, some of these, like these, for example, where they have a lip on both sides, those you actually have to do with the press because there's no way you're going to do them by hand. But it's the exact same process, just reversed. However, there are bushings such as these where it's 2 bushings in one, and you can slide them in by hand. And part of the trick is freezing, putting all these bushings, all these parts in the freezer for at least 24 hours so they can contract, and then you can just slide it in. You know, some of this stuff like the boots, it's super simple. Like you just got to remove the ring, remove the old boot, clean up all the old grease, re-grease it, put the new boot on, and then the new ring. So all this stuff is super self-explanatory. There's not much to it. The only thing I haven't done are the toe links, and that's because Mazda made them out of steel, and it's probably because they're threaded, so they're a structural component in comparison to something like cast aluminum where you can't really use that for threads. So these are steel. I've blasted them. I'm going to primer them and paint them black. And then after that, I'll put the bushings back in, just going to leave it the way it is just for now. But that's going to be super straightforward. Nothing too crazy about that.